Father Michael Schneller and Deacon Phil Doolen. You want to start, Father Michael? Let us know when you became pastor? And how
Yeah,
long?
I was looking for a new job, and at the time, the Archdiocese had what they call an open listing policy, and you could submit your name if you were interested in the parish. And so I thought it was kind of time to move closer to my dad. He was, a widowed, and so St. Anne, and I never really served in suburbs. I'd always been somewhere else, Metairie, not Metairie, but other places. So I submitted my name. Well, before doing that, I contacted Monsignor Joe Bourgeois, who was the present pastor, and just to kind of ask him about the parish, and he was excited that I was interested, and he felt that the parish was just really truly open to the spirit of the Second Vatican Council. That's kind of what the gist of what I remember. And so I submitted my name, and November 2nd, 2001.
2001.
And the rest is history, as they say.
I remember when you first walked in.
So,
Well, we were talking, I saw Deacon Phil. He seems to be the common denominator here through all the pastors.
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Had 'em
Yeah.
all. And I have to tell you, I've had them all, and without fail, I got along with all of them, and all of them was deacon supportive, and all with a great relationship.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of deacons that can't say that.
I think if Deacon Phil hadn't been here, I'd have really made all kind of mistakes.
Oh?
But with him here, I didn't make any. No.
Yeah, I taught him how to say mass, No, when he first walked in, and I'll never forget, not shortly afterwards, he needed help moving some stuff from OLPH across the river. And I'd never been there before, so Pat Sanders took your place, I believe. didn't
He did, yes.
Yeah, big tall guy, no longer a priest. I went over there and toured the place, and then we got to what we were gonna take back over.
He had some stuff.
Costumes! I had my van, it was packed.
Yep. And I have a few more since then now.
Yeah, right.
Anyway,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
And I met his dad.
So-
His dad came in one day. Dad has a great sense of humor. He was just a funny little guy, man. I really liked him.
I mean, is that where you get it?
Yeah.
So my next question, when you started that building that's the ministry center now, was the rectory and the office?
It was, the
And
whole idea of living over the shop, and it was perfectly comfortable when I moved there, it was fine.
You were happy with it. You were okay with it.
Oh, yeah,
But,
I was, yeah. There was some separation from the office and the actual living space. It had its advantages as well as disadvantages, but, it was good. It was a good place to live.
it's different now. Now
No, it's totally different.
there's a lot of stuff going on in there.
Yeah, yeah.
It really is.
Well, that's kind of good to hear, because it was Hurricane Katrina that changed all that, and changed the way the whole outlook of the campus, I guess.
It did, without question.
Yeah.
And who was on staff when you got here, and how did that change?
Well, there was secretary, or it was
The office
Judy
manager.
Clavery,
Judy.
the
office manager, and Beverly Musso. Beverly was
One of the secretaries.
secretary, receptionist. We had a housekeeper, as far as the in-office staff, and then we had, I'm trying to think, they had a director of religious education when I arrived. Was that, they had a youth minister, Jason. Jason was his name, Jason Sled,
Yeah.
and a Pied Piper kind of youth minister.
Okay.
And
Then you brought in after that, Was it Ron Cortade?
There was a Ron Cortade, and then
The
he
big
who was the
guy.
Director of Religious Education, and John Fitzmaurice.
Fitzmaurice.
Okay,
Uh,
don't know any of this.
yeah,
Yeah, he didn't know
and,
small.
so,
Well, was Linda still here, or was Betty Davis, the second secretary? Did you hire Linda? I don't fuzzy about that part.
I hired Linda. I
Okay.
don't remember when I hired her. It may have been before Katrina. Yeah,
Oh,
I think
yeah,
it
yeah,
was.
oh,
It
yeah,
was.
before
It
Katrina.
was before Katrina. Maybe that's because Beverly went
Well,
part-time or
well,
something.
no, and Betty Davis didn't work out too well.
She wasn't here when I came.
She wasn't,
I mean,
okay.
she was in the parish,
Okay,
but she
well,
wasn't on the
okay, and
staff.
that was avoided, Beverly didn't want to work full-time anymore, that's what
Yeah.
it was.
Mhm.
Linda was looking for a job, and so
Yeah,
she came
so,
down.
well, the other person on the staff at the time was, Miss Stacy.
Stacy.
the-
You call her
the-
Stacy, but
Stacy, yeah,
she had a
was
gift shop.
She was the
Oh, okay.
operator of the gift shop, which is in now the Parish Ministry Center. And, you know, that, besides letting people go ahead, I closed that because it wasn't making any money, and we wanted to use the space for something else. And we closed it before the hurricane.
It needed to be
And,
closed,
And now it's the Blessed Sacrament Chapel.
that's right.
okay, so, we made it at the time into sort of a welcome center and place to have hospitality things and others, so really those are the worst things that I had to do is letting some of the, maybe the way to say it is allowing some staff to transition to other places. One kind of humorous one is, what was her name, the cook?
Oh, Joyce.
Joyce.
Well, what happened with Joyce, she'd do the grocery shopping, okay? And, so I think Judy caught it.
It was Beverly, I think.
Beverly, yeah.
Beverly.
Noticed it on the list, wait a minute, whoa, we didn't get this stuff.
Oh, some extras.
Beverly wanted to know, there was bubble bath on the list.
Bubble bath.
And she
Why
wanted to ask
you
me
wanted bubble bath?
if I took bubble baths.
Beverly would.
Yes, she did.
So
And,
I said, well, no, and so she caught, evidently she would review the receipts probably a bit closer than I did, and she caught that, and I think you were the one, I went out of town or something, and you were the one that let her go. So
we had
it
no
was-
choice.
Yeah,
I called the, Archdiocese first, I don't say ground with that, but,
yeah,
and she admitted it.
yeah.
She was good, she was a good cook, nice lady, but it was easy to do, so she did it.
Yeah, and I guess it was, this was after that, I hired Kay
Okay,
Bertrand.
I remember her.
Kay was wonderful,
Yeah.
she, you
I
know,
don't think she was still,
Kay
I think it was after she was.
Kay was some fun, she called the priests her boys.
yeah.
And we, Kate get a couple glasses of wine her, and she would, she was funny, man. Good lady.
Yeah.
Good lady.
And, so anyway, that,
And then did you
Yeah,
hire
that's-
Mary Quaid?
Well, let me
well,
tell you
not immediately.
that.
Uh,
No,
There was
no,
somebody else
no.
in between.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
We had to let her go too.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Faye,
Faye,
I'll think of the last name in a minute, but so we hired her.
I think she had great credentials or something, looked good on paper, but, you know.
It took us 6 months to clean the mess up,
Yeah,
so we had a lot to do with her too.
yeah.
But the Mary Quaid story,
Live and learn, right?
the Mary Quaid story is really interesting.
Yeah.
Did we post the job? You posted the job, didn't you?
Probably did.
I think so,
you
she
know,
came in looking, and I'll never forget this. There was a sofa in for Billy's office now, and she sat down there, and so Michael and I were, he sat there doing the interview, and so she starts saying, oh, the Holy Spirit led me here, I just know God wants me to be here, and I feel the power of God drive. So, oh, we got a holy roller here. I know he was thinking the same thing. So she gave a reference as Ed Dorvan. She worked for Ed Dorvan, who's a deacon, and I knew him well. So I told Father Mike, let me call Ed. So I called Ed, told him what's going on. It was about 10-second silence. and that says, if you all don't hire that woman, have your collective heads examined. You'll never find anybody else like her. And we took him at his word.
That's right.
She also, I think, she was recommended by and worked for, I think, Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly also at Covenant
At the
House.
Covenant House.
Okay.
That's right.
You know, for the youth on Rampart Street. And yeah, she worked with him. And she worked when it was Malta Square on
Malta
Canal
Square.
Street. It was the
Used
old
to be
Sacred
Seton-
Heart High School.
Seton Academy, that's where I went to high school.
Yeah, she worked there when that was a residential facility for seniors, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, so she was the people that I've hired far outweigh, I think, the ones that I had to ask to let go.
Oh, yeah, you
She
by and
was,
large, you had a really
you
good
know, she was wonderful, you know. Yeah.
She, toward the end, I know she had a special relationship with you. Because you had some, she told me about that, some really helpful conversations with her. She knew she was dying.
Yeah.
You might never forget, we gave that party for Father Duke, and man, she was,
She worked her butt off, I was
and
here
she
for
wasn't
that,
feeling
and
well.
she
She was feeling awful that day,
But
you
she
know.
was really,
Yeah.
I mean, I was here helping her with it, actually.
Yeah.
And when I came,
Yeah.
she even came in here to show me the ropes, and she was really
She
in
was
a lot of
hurt.
pain, yeah.
Mhm.
But, you know,
Yeah.
it took a lot for her to, I think, on the one hand, let go of the job,
No,
but on the other hand, wanting to help me
Well, no,
get
she-
right.
she told me, and I know you weren't there at
She
the
was-
time, that you get somebody, you know,
Yeah.
you're not gonna offend me if you start looking around.
Well, she was wonderful. Okay, let's find something
Yeah.
uplifting. Oh, well, we shared memories and stories. What is your best memory at St. Anne?
Well, my best memory would be, it was when we did the rededication of the church. But particular moment during the rededication, at the point where they turn the lights on in the church. You come in and it's in darkness, and even though it was during the day, turn the lights on, and there was spontaneous applause. And that just touched my heart, even to this day, to say that, I mean, I took it that the people liked what the renovation did for the church. You know, that they really liked it and were satisfied. And so that's a moment that would always stay with me, you know. I mean, there's so many others, it's kind of hard to single anything out, you know. And the fairs were always great fun, you know, going, especially spending time at Schneller's Cellar.
Schneller's Cellar, yeah. That was the wine booth.
Or,
And I
you
used to
know,
love the masses that you did after
well,
the
that-
fair. We were so tired and worn
That's
out, but
right.
those masses were awesome.
that's another one, yeah, the kind of almost midnight masses after
Yeah.
that Saturday night, especially when it was a 3-day.
Yeah.
Right.
Which always was, I think, while I was here, but,
Well, the real
those
tribute
were
to,
fun, and,
the real tribute to the renovation, besides that moment, I know the one he's talking about. But, we had a capital campaign,
Right.
and we collected 109% of our goal. Now, that's a tribute.
Yeah.
That's a tribute.
yeah,
And so we did so well with that, you know.
yeah.
And did it in combination with the school, so we saved some money with that.
Yeah.
That was a fun experience.
The children's liturgies, the school liturgies, you know, and, I guess being in a parish now where I don't have a school, not least the building, you know, I miss that interaction with the kids on a daily, regular basis, you know. So we have our parish school of religion is on Sunday morning between the two masses, and so I'm seeing our parishioners like just once a week and on Sunday.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have to make the most of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We,
And I guess, you know, leading the Girl Scout parade every year was just, that was always so much fun, you know, it really was, you know, and, doing that.
well, I remember too, when the Saints went to the Super Bowl, we had that, one of the masses, we did a straight line singing when Saints go marching in out of church, remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, second line,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
I
was
remember the
That
umbrellas.
place
Yeah,
rocked.
yeah, the weekend of the Super Bowl and the
That's right.
Saints were in it, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That was-
right.
That was a great moment.
Mm-hmm.
Another great moment that I remember, he probably fresh his memory. Diane and I celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary. And 4 o'clock mass, we were there, all dressed up, and she knew about it. So after mass, he calls us up to the side, he presents us with a bottle of champagne. And everybody claps, and I said, and now I want you to know, Deacon Phil's taking his family, his wife to Commander's Palace, and you are all invited.
That's right. Yeah, I remember
Well,
that.
and they roared, man. Diane said, "Are you serious?"
That's funny.
That was fun,
Oh,
that was
yeah.
fun, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So,
I'll tell you a close moment for me though. It was Holy Thursday. He already announced that he was leaving, going out later, that's another story. But, so it's Holy Thursday and you wash my feet. And you looked at me now and said, "I'm gonna miss you."
Oh, wow.
And I started crying, yeah.
Yeah.
Really got me.
yeah, it's true, meant it, yeah. Uh-huh.
That was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, he mentions my leaving St. Anne and going to Holly the Lake. Deacon Phil told me don't do it.
I gave him the reasons why. You
And
just lost your father, you lost your brother, you had prostate cancer surgery, just renovated the church.
yeah, and well, there are a number of reasons. Some that I wouldn't even want to be recorded, but I try to be faithful to the promise of obedience that you make to the Archbishop on the day of your ordination, and I felt like I needed to do that. Only after that I'm there that I discovered, I was the right person for the tension and that the parish was experiencing, but I wasn't the person for the lawsuit that they were going through at the time. I just that just tore me up internally, physically and all, and it wasn't I wasn't the person for that dogfight, as it were, and so anyway,
But I certainly understand him not being able to say no to the Archbishop.
Well, right.
That's of course.
yeah. So
Wow.
I don't know what.
Well, the next thing is your worst memory as pastor, and
Well, I think that would be
It's a hard one.
Well, no, it's the it's having to let staff members go. Those are always difficult. I mean, no one likes to deal with conflict, but and neither do I. But things needed to be addressed. I guess the other thing is that, and this doesn't go into the worst category, but I was I guess during my whole pastorate, I was conscious of the great respect that people had for the founding pastor, Msgr Duke, and what he did to build this parish. I always allowed myself sort of to be intimidated by him,
Right.
and I think that's because he had sort of this large persona, and not just in the parish, but even in the archdiocese, but
Let me add to that while you're on that subject, because he's probably not gonna say it. But you're right about the personality, believe me, I know. But Father Michael and Father Robert later more than extended the olive branch. You know, and it just didn't work, for whatever reason. You know, because he never got over the fact that he was moved. And this is some years later. He was moved in 1996, and this is like 2004 or 5 or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, one of the funny things that happened, that after Katrina, there were, when we came back and we had to do some recovery work, and there was occasion, we had the maintenance person, custodian, Phil, was working here at the time. And I don't know how long it was that the building, I guess the building sat empty before we could get in there to do any kind of renovation and see what we wanted to do with it. Well, it was at least a good year, because I lived away from here for a year after
Right.
Katrina. I lived at the neighboring parish, St. Mary Magdalene. And so it was just about a year later that I returned. But when we went to go sort of clean some things out in what is now the Parish Ministry Center, I went and threw out all the alcohol.
oh,
And Phil was standing there with me. He was almost in tears because I was dumping alcohol down the drain. I couldn't feel like, I didn't want to be responsible for anybody drinking any of this that had been
Right.
sitting there in this hot building for a year, you know, so.
Yeah.
I always remember that was kind of funny, you know, and yeah, and one other thing related to that was kind of funny is that when we went to, I guess, clean out the kitchen, we discovered that we still had dishes in the dishwasher from a year after the storm.
Not about that.
They beyond smelling that.
Well, knowing me, they were clean before they went
Okay.
into the dishwasher.
There you
So
go.
it's
That's
like-
good, that's a good thing.
Yeah, he and Father Bill share that trait, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
But, were you here, and I'm confused whether you was Father Robert, when the boys next door were cutting up?
No, I
You,
don't
that
remember
was,
that.
okay, you weren't there.
Yeah.
You missed that, never
No.
mind, so, yeah.
I
That's
don't
another
remember
story.
that.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No. And one of the things that we did in this, I had when I came to the parish, I had a interest in forming small groups of
Right, I
small
remember
Christian
that.
communities in the parish. And we started to do that, and we were getting some traction and getting that going, and then Katrina hit. And then, you know, the focus really went elsewhere after that, and
It did.
I know Deacon Phil was a member of one of the groups, and
We had the biggest group, we had 10 couples, and the night before, 2 nights before Katrina hit, we had one of our meetings. Never dreaming it would be our last meeting.
Wow.
Yeah. Never got, well, understandably, there was no parish to speak of. You know.
Mhm. Yeah.
People were gone and never came back, and it was
Yeah.
but yeah, you and I went to that convention in San Antonio, the small faith community.
That's right.
You remember?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you a funny story. He had 2 priest friends of his, David Long and Paul Mast. And you remember them?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, good guys, man. Well, it wasn't Paul. We had an old,
It was his friend, Keith Balstra
You know what I'm gonna say, right?
from England,
Well,
did the Novena.
Yeah, and he was staying in the house where Father Billy is now. It may not have been him, but anyway, he had a stack of money. You know, he carried big bills around with him, and he left it all in the bed. And went somewhere where somebody broke in,
Oh, yeah.
came into the window.
It was Paul Mass during the
It was
St.
Paul
Anne-
Mast, okay.
St. Anne Novena. He broke in through the guest bedroom
With Paul
window
Mast.
down the street,
Wow.
and I took his wallet, and it took some other stuff, personal things belonged to me, and but they found the wallet back here by the parish ministry center, the parking lot, and I got some of my things back.
They caught the guy.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
they caught him, yeah.
They did, and he communicated with me later
Did he
from
really?
prison. Yes, I got a letter from him, and I responded. I don't know if I kept that or, but I responded, and he was going through a very bad time in his own personal life, and, was very sorry and repented for it and all, so that was good, yeah.
Did it Pope John Paul II?
Yeah. Yeah, so.
Yeah, that was, I'll never forget that, it got into the window,
Yeah.
broad daylight.
People are desperate, I guess they'll do desperate
Yeah.
things. Any more Katrina stories you wanna share? Or you wanna move forward?
Well, I remember,
No,
yeah,
no,
I
it's-
remember we came and we were battling FEMA. And we had a meeting with the chief financial officer of the Archdiocese. And it's not, Jeff, no, it's a guy before him, I can't think of his name, remember his name? Anyway,
John Echo.
John Echo, he was not a very nice guy.
Oh,
So we sat down, you remember that meeting, we sat down, he's
Yeah,
being, you called him out.
I did.
We didn't wanna hear all that baloney, he was being dictatorial, how we need to do this and do that, and then Michael shut him up, and that was the end of it. He called his shot, what needed to be done, the guy, here we're bleeding over here, and he's acting like King Tut,
You know, what's interesting, Debbie, is that, with this response and the recovery for our recent Hurricane Ida, that the diocese is approaching this much differently than it did 16 years ago with Hurricane Katrina. We were all on our own. Everybody had to do, and that's why, when I came back here and just signed something without authorization from the diocese, now it's like we've got to wait to hear from the diocese before we can do anything.
right.
Because they want to get the reimbursement from FEMA and all, so it's that experience, I think, from 16 years ago that has brought about the way we are responding to it now. If you're going out on your own, you better get 3 bids and whatever you need to do in order to, if you expect to get any kind of reimbursement from insurance or FEMA or anything, so.
And I have a feeling St. Anne's experience had a lot to do, and I'll tell you why, because we go to a diaconate meeting, and Archbishop Hughes was a celebrant. And I'll never forget, Diane and I were walking from one part of the area to the other with him, we knew him, and he says, how is Father Michael doing? And we said, could be doing better. And he stopped in his tracks, he says, we gotta change the way we do things.
That was Archbishop Hughes?
Yeah, Hughes said that, yeah. He was very concerned, and I think there were other priests having difficulties like too, but I think that our experience may have helped to change that whole thing.
Yeah,
It's a good thing then.
and a lawsuit.
Yeah. Yeah, well.
And a lawsuit.
This may be, and Phil can clarify, but one other thing that, there weren't many that we disagreed on, but when we came back, we were trying to decide, okay, what do we do with these buildings? That the damage and everything, and I guess I got the idea about taking this building and the other 2, this to be the office, and then, which we had to move here to begin with, and the 2 houses that are next door to each other, and making those the priest's residence. Well, initially, I don't think Phil agreed with that. He didn't agree with that decision. And it was a perception thing, it's like, what does a priest need to have his own home
Right.
for, and
Why
can't they live together and all? So I don't know what it is now, but,
I will tell you, I was wrong. I mean, my perception was, my idea was, well, how do you build community if you're living in separate quarters? Well, that's not true. There was no basis for saying that, so whatever my feelings were at the time, they were wrong.
Well, yeah, and at the time I felt that, it worked out, and it allowed
It works out
use
fine
another
now.
building, so,
Right. And it's, I mean, it's still pastor and one in parochial vicar in the
Yeah,
other.
yeah, but
And
there's.
the yards connect, so
Exactly, they get
they
together
eat
all the.
meals together and
Sure,
stuff.
sure,
so-
they didn't miss a beat with
which
that.
is,
My
which
whole-
is what we did, and, of course, I think Phil was thinking of, the community among priests. Well, it's the religious priests, they're committed to a community, ours is a parish community.
Right.
We're a diocesan priest, and sometimes we are a little bit more, sort of independent,
You are.
from each other, but, but then, that experience, kind of changed the way we moved around on the campus here and everything, so, but,
Well, and we're flourishing, I mean, we're doing really well right now, so all that was good. Seeds planted,
Well, you kind of started the tradition of bringing seminarians here for internships, and we're still doing that. Anything you want to talk about that? Seminarians or?
well, just that it was, I felt it was, an enriching experience for the parish, for me personally, to be able to share my priesthood and I guess the way I go about things, pastoring, not that the person will do it my way, but, and I actually, I guess I started doing it when I was pastor out at Resurrection. I had a couple of, a few interns there as well, and it was an honor to be asked by the diocese and to be sort of like an extended part of the faculty in pastoral formation. So I think the parishes, the parishioners,
I think they love it. I really do. They
Oh,
appreciate it.
it's,
They do. They make a lot of good connections and.
when the archdiocese has taken a more formal approach to it now, I mean, now, there's a lay support group, and
Right.
there's a staff support group, and there's a 15-page procedure you're supposed to follow. You've seen it.
Yeah,
They could be tweaked.
yeah, it's developed over the
Yeah.
years,
Right.
what's part of the formation
I know
process.
we enjoyed getting to know the seminarians and see, follow them where they go and.
It's win-win, it's
Yeah.
win-win, I mean, this Andy we had here,
Yeah.
he's from Cuba, Andy?
We learned a
That
lot
was-
from him.
Brother Mike?
No, I don't know.
Well, he came from Cuba, and he landed in Miami, literally homeless,
No,
and no money. And, long stay, finally got some help, and, after the priest, 40 years old, and the priest does speak good English, and, he'll be ordained, hopefully in June, but, he made an impression here.
He did.
He really did.
And I think he's a little bit older and his life experience will
Yeah.
vary.
because, yeah.
Okay, well, let's see. What are some ways that you saw God working in St. Anne Parish when you were here?
Well, realizing that I just talked in my homily this morning about God, seeing God in all things, in nature and history and human affairs. It's through the great dedication of the people to their faith, their strong faith, their love for the church, their love for this parish, I'm one that probably recognizes God's presence and activity upon reflection, and maybe not always being as consciously aware of it as I should be, but I know it's the movement and the power of the Spirit. So I think the resiliency of the people and coming back after a disaster and sticking with the parish, and I remember going over to Lynn Boudreau's house when I came back after being a month away from Katrina in Baton Rouge, and you were having a barbecue or something.
Yeah, fish
and
fry or
he says,
something,
you
yeah.
know,
Oh, you were?
Well, a whole bunch of us.
Well,
There was a group of men's club guys that were helping people who got houses.
Oh,
And
that's
so
right, yeah.
Lynn decided to feed these this group of people, and
Yeah,
so that's what
yeah.
you want.
And it's something like, well, it's about time you came home.
Yeah, that sounds like Lynn.
Lynn Woodrow, yeah.
That's
Something
Lynn
like
Woodrow,
that,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that's
Well,
fun.
let me tell you, yeah, that's a great, you just brought to mind something. You remember after Katrina, we got that St. Raymond in
Yes.
St. Raymond
Illinois.
Metaphor.
Yeah, New
26,000
Prospect,
dollars
Illinois.
or something like
Yeah.
that. And didn't members of the pastoral council come down here and spend a few days with us?
There's one person in particular, that came, and they kind of, I was at a loss as just what to do, and actually, they kind of forced themselves on us. Said,
Right.
we wanna
They did.
do this, your parish is very similar to ours, and, we wanna be able to help, we wanna help the school, and they did that to over $100,000 or more, you know, that they raised.
They did.
And then I went up there,
Yeah.
to preach as well, one weekend in January, the
That
cold
was fun.
of the winter, which was a wonderful experience, you
And
know.
we invited the priest to come down here, but he was in the middle of transitioning out, I believe, at the time.
He did
And
eventually,
he never
yes.
made it down here, you know, but
Mhm.
I was gonna say, because of that, you know, after Hurricane Michael, we adopted a parish in Florida.
Ah,
And
St. Dominic.
devastated by Michael, and Debbie, Father Billy, myself, and Father Vincent drove over there and gave them a check for $36,000, something like that.
wow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Our parishioners, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you plant good seeds, and yeah.
Mhm.
So do you have a funny story revealing God's sense of humor?
Sense of humor. Well, I don't know. They always say if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we had a parochial vicar here who was a fisherman, and yeah, there was a house where Father Mike lives now, and you go in and you'd be inundated with fishing poles and all kind of stuff. And,
he was obviously a hoarder.
A hoarder.
And, you know, I remember telling him that, you know, I said, look, this is not a fishing village. This is Metairie. You've got 2 boats in the yard and,
You know, funny story about that. But then you open the freezer and there's a big white fish staring you in the face.
Oh.
This is
Oh,
after
God,
that.
yeah.
But I preached one weekend and told us, this is a true story. But being fishers of men, you know, and told the Archbishop, boy, he laughed his neck off. But I said that, without mentioning names, of course, I said, this priest is out there fishing one day, and he landed a huge grouper, and reeling it in, and all of a sudden, he's with somebody else, he cut the line. The guy said, what are you doing that for? He said, I'm fishing for redfish.
Oh,
That's a true story.
oh, fish.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, let's see. How did you see the parish ministries evolve over the time that you were here? Like, did those grow, pare down?
I'm trying to think, I don't remember exactly all what was going on as, you know, when I arrived.
I can comment.
I think I always try to develop or build on what's there already. And I don't think I've ever tried to take the approach of just kind of sort of casually dismissing or, you know, shutting something down and all that. It's usually been after some experience with it or reflection or study and all that. But and I guess we had a pastoral council.
Well, he built on it.
So,
When, I'll tell you, when Father Joe came on board, there was nothing. There was nothing. There was no forum. There was no organized Eucharistic ministers, lectors, ushers, nothing. It was all catch as catch can. That's the way Father Joe ran, and it worked for him. Well, Father Joe introduced, and then you brought the liturgy committee on board. You formed a liturgy committee, and you modernized the pastoral council. we had a pastoral council, but then we did some things.
You started the discernment process.
Yes,
Started
you're right,
the
we
discernment
did the
process.
discernment
This was-
process, and,
Exactly, and that holds till today,
mhm,
so.
yeah.
He improved it.
I guess it's small church communities, you know, and I was always impressed with the work of the St. Vincent de Paul Society here, the great work that they do
Still do.
In the parish of interviewing people and finding out what actually their needs are and how can they best be assisted and helped. You know, I guess
Was the Sowing Seeds of Faith ministry here when you were here? They make these prayer blankets?
that started that while I was here, Sowing Seams of Faith. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Was that
Oh, it's big now.
It's big. That's
was
one
that
of them.
Sandy Shadlovsky or someone
I think
else?
I think she was one of the, she's not no longer active in it, because
She
she's pretty
was,
close
yeah.
up, but,
Sandy's recently just kind of retired from
from everything, yeah.
ministries,
Okay.
But I think Janice Dorhauer is kind of in charge of it these days.
Right.
Oh,
But they
okay.
do- That's one of our biggest
No,
missions.
it's-
People come in here all the time.
Every, you know, we have the Novena in the summer, we have the healing service in the middle, and the ladies are out there with the prayer arrangements, and they do.
Yeah, they gave me one as a farewell gift,
Yeah.
and yeah, and they made one for my brother Eric, I think, who was ill at the time, or my brother Steve, I forget. Yeah, did we well, we had the building committee,
Yeah, the
I
building
remember
committee.
that, and we had the finance council too.
Well, that was
Was
another
that-
thing, yeah, that's
was that-
because we met sporadically, well, we're meeting sporadically, but that's not anybody's fault, because,
Right.
but, yeah, that, we formalized that.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay. So what will be the best thing about coming back to help celebrate our 50th anniversary?
Well, it's always to renew friendships, relationships to see the people, you know, and to know that, you know, you had a part in their life, you know, in their faith journey. So that's the most touching and meaningful experience, you know, to do that. It's difficult because trying to remember people's names who maybe you should remember.
Oh, you're good at that,
you know,
man.
and,
It's been a little
No,
while.
he's better
yeah,
than most at that.
But so yeah, and it's nice to be here to celebrate that, you know, that 50 years.
Yeah,
You know,
it's gonna be nice.
yeah. So
It's coming together, it's coming quick. It's coming quick. And what are your hopes for the future of St. Anne Parish?
you know, when I saw that, I think my hope would be for any parish where I've served. You know, that we're able to build a community where people are welcome, all people are welcome, and that we're not there just for our own benefit, that we're there for something larger, larger even than the church, you know, of renewing society in the world. And strengthen the bonds of community and among people. You know, next year I celebrate 50 years as a priest, and I'm just thinking that parish life has been my priesthood. It has been my life, and it's what I've given my energies toward, and I believe in the structure and its effectiveness, and it's a great thing that the church has, to know that, I guess supposedly, the worldwide church is divided into parishes, into communities, to know that, you know, this particular group of people in this geography, even though that kind of, you know, gone by the wayside in some sense, you know, people go where they want, but I think that's a great treasure the church has of having parish communities, and to be able to build on that. And it gives people a sense of identity, it kind of distresses me at times when people say, oh, I'm a roaming Catholic,
Right.
well, we all want some place to call home,
Exactly.
and
How I
think-
feel about saying it.
yeah, and that I experience is that here, and it's, so, and all of the parishes they've all been different, none have been better than the others, they've all had their different, presented different challenges, but they've been wonderful experiences, and great people who love the church.
Anything you wanna add? Or?
No, it just, the church as a whole, our archdiocese, I'm just amazed at the number of fine young priests we have now. That are gonna be, that just newly ordained 2 or 3 years, and the ones coming down the road now. Man, this is our church. I'm really impressed with these guys. We have Father Bro here, who's Father Vincent, and Father Michael's gonna make a good pastor, we're just very fortunate. We probably see that more than you do.
You do, it's interesting being I guess what they call a senior priest now. It's, I don't have as much association with the younger ones, it's like,
We see
I
them
seem like somewhat removed from them, as, and even trying to know their names when I look at the poster of all that comes out every year, and it's like, I know very few of them.
Right.
So, anyway.
And you're thinking about retiring soon? Next year?
I've been in discernment, yes. I could have retired at age 70 for the archdiocese, and so I'm now serving as the dean of the Uptown Deanery, which is something I was hoping I would escape in my priesthood, and now I get to do it at the end. And it's a 3-year term, and so I'm in my 2nd year of the term, and I make 75 at the end of this month, which is the age where a priest submits his resignation to the Archbishop at 75, and it's not mandatory that he retires, and the Archbishop can extend it. So I may finish my term of service as dean, and maybe after that, we'll see. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So.
Oh, you'll stay busy, no matter what you do.
Yeah. And so anybody watching this, anybody watching this, I need a place to live. When I retire, I'll be homeless. So
Yeah, right.
Oh, man. Well, did you have any?
No, just so it was a great 11 and a half years. I don't know, 11, whatever you want to call it. It really was.
Well, do you want to close us with a prayer?
Okay. Well, good and gracious God, we thank you for establishing your son's church here in this part of Metairie to serve your people, and how effectively they have been served throughout these 50 years. May you continue to bless them, to bless Father Billy, Father Michael, Deacon Phil, the other deacons, and all the staff as they collaborate together to minister to your people. Bring healing to any parishioners who have been hurt through the ministry here at St. Anne in any way. Give them healing and mercy, and certainly bring them back to be united with your flock. Continue to guide the staff, the priests, people of St. Anne with the shepherd's care. Amen.
Amen. Very good.
Thank you.
We taught him a lot, didn't we?